Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping by. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has been here and gone. I think he's gone, if not today, tomorrow. We came to a sort of a mutually agreeable and disagreeable sort of conclusion. It was a compromise. And it really didn't surprise me at all. It just seemed like a logical one, given the reality both parties had to face of what was going on around them. So I'm going to leave it at that. What I'm going to do, instead of going on about it myself, is I really don't want to get deep into that at the moment. I'll give you two other people who can provide you with two different perspectives. One is Chuck Holton of Hot Zone. It's a YouTube channel. He has a wonderful title for his report was, "Did America Just Invade Panama?" ? It's great. That'll bring in the viewers, and it has. Probably about 250,000 of them now. And that's fine. He knows his audience. He works hard with them. Hear him out. Go all the way through to the end. And you'll see that he is trying to set things straight with everybody. And he does a pretty darn good job of it. So I think he makes a good representation of one American perspective. The other perspective is Panamanian. This is Dalia Pichel, who is a journalist. She writes in what's called El Pulso, the Pulse. This is a political newsletter. Occasionally goes out in place of a greater newsletter. I mean, it's sort of its mother newsletter called Nueva Nación, or New Nation. I like it, and I find it very interesting. I think Dalia does a very fine job of looking at this from every angle, from the Panamanian side, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak, and raises all sorts of questions too, and whatever, but does a very credible job of explaining what's happening. It's a good thing to have out there. So I will send you there, and it's an old school type of website, which I appreciate, because that's what I saw frequently when I was new in the business a long time, 30 years ago. More than 30 years, thank God. Anyhow, if you go to the upper right corner, it'll say translate. You can have it translated into any language you want, the Google situation. But it's very easy, very clear. And you can probably do that through your mouse, of course. It may happen automatically. I don't know. But anyhow, it's there. And on the upper left side, there is a button called subscribe. And if you want to subscribe, please feel free to subscribe. But below, you'll read her take on things. And we know that there are going to be people on both sides that are upset by everything. And there'll be undoubtedly some protests. The Chinese are certainly not happy about it at all. But this is not what you think it is. I mean, really, folks, if you don't live here and you don't really get tied into things, you can completely misunderstand what's going on. China's never been that popular, and that's as simple as that. This was easier to adjust to than most. Though we have a very small left wing, and they are going to be supportive, and that's the way it is. And look, it is a democracy. Of course they are. And they're welcome to. Nothing's going to stop them if they want to. And others could if they wanted to. Others will be suspicious of having Americans anywhere near us and so on. And that has nothing to do with left or right or anything else. It's just we don't want somebody else coming in here. We don't want gringos with guns coming in here thinking they run the country. Okay? Got it? Because if you don't got it, you're in trouble. And I think people got it. All right. Now, but other than that, I think it is going to unfold. It's a 3-year memorandum of understanding, and I'm going to send you to a report in one of the newspapers. What it is, it's the word-for-word memorandum of understanding between the Republic and the United States. It is, Google will automatically translate it to English when you get to it, but if you want the original Spanish, you know how to get it. It's not that hard. So it's there for you to read, word for word, what it goes down. Be careful how you interpret it. Just sort of take it at face value and move on. We're all going to find out what it really means in months to come. And there will be more talk about that. But as far as I'm concerned, this is to give you two different views, one American and one Panamanian, and the actual wording in the Memorandum of Understanding, which is now a formal document signed by both nations. Okay, but it's a Memorandum of Understanding, not a treaty, so it's a little bit different. Either party can give 30 days notice that they're out if they want to at any time. All right? So this is not as what one group might have wanted. Whatever. The point is we got what we got here. And take a look at it. You can make your own judgment. I am tired of having to deal with this because it's really not what I'm set up to do here. I do geopolitical analysis, but I do it elsewhere. I don't do it here. I have so many of you folks are from Canada, Germany, Italy, Britain, Philippines, Thailand, India. I mean, I've got such a wide variety of people who come in. And they don't want to hear necessarily about American politics. I think they're probably hearing enough about it as they want to right now. So enough. I want to move on to other stuff too. And there are things that will have to be discussed, like the mine, the copper mine, which is coming. We now hope by the end of the month we'll have discussions underway there with the company if all the necessary requirements, pre-requirements, are met. It's their decision. If so, then we can move forward on that. To what end, I don't know, but it's important. There are things like this that are coming down the road too. We are doing, as you'll find in the report from Panama that I'm putting together, all is not lost here. We're as usual, doing better than most of the nations in the region. We don't necessarily have that as a single statistic, but believe me, if it talks about stability in the streets and in our relationships with each other and with our nations, even our neighbors who differ with us in certain respects, we all get along just fine. We're fine. And we can make a very good home for anybody who's looking for a little peace and quiet. But more on that when the time comes. From my perspective, the only other international issue that I'm watching carefully because it concerns me in a much more general sense, but it also has relevance here. It could have. I don't think it would ever happen like this down here at all, but is Mexico. And there's serious work going, we're told, right now into considering whether the U.S. can unilaterally go in and drop bombs or do whatever, start killing people, hit the ground against the cartels. Sounds very brave, but you don't watch the movies. It's not good to watch the movies. This is a reality you have to, which Mexico has trouble confronting. But we're not necessarily the solution to it. By we, I mean the United States or anybody else outside Mexico, certainly not Panama. So my concern is this, and all what I'm talking about here. There are 1.6 million, this is the estimate from the embassy, which tends to be low. Anyhow, 1.6 million Americans who are residents of Mexico, as I'm a resident of Panama, I mean they're permanent residents. And some of them do only stay down, say, 6-8 months, and then they go up north because it's easy to drive up, so on and so forth. But lots and lots and lots. 1.6 million is a lot. And many of them just live there, and they own homes. Many of them own homes. This is where they live. It's that simple. This doesn't include tourists, of whom there can be anywhere from 10 to 12 million of them from the north in the course of a month. Pardon me, in a quarter, in a 3-month period. I think is how the Mexicans put it. My point being is the 1.6 million. These are the people that concern me. These are the people that I can relate to, given I'm in the same situation here. And I say, you're dealing with the cartels. We don't have anything like that here. Not at all, believe me. And we just don't. There's already been violence between cartel members and some tourists and others coming down from the U.S. But if there's bombing going on, if there is killing of Mexican civilians, and it's not handled well, and if the government doesn't seem to be in control of it, but it's just the Americans doing what they feel like doing, this is a huge problem. The cartels are a multi-billion-dollar affair. Okay? We're talking big money. And fentanyl is just one little item on their list. And that can be produced in the U.S. quite easily, but it isn't the point. The point is that the cartels themselves are seen as an enemy. I understand that. But it's a tricky business. I look at the 1.6 million American, this is just American, Canadians, unfortunately, get fit into our category too often because we're neighbors. But with the gringos, so to speak, the 1.6 million gringos, we just stick with those. They are 1.6 million expat residents. They are 1.6 million potential targets. They're 1.6 million potential victims. They are 1.6 million potential refugees trying to get back across the border because things seem to be falling apart. That's my concern. People say, well, how are they going to fight back? These are huge groups that are very expert at killing. I mean, pardon me for saying it, but if you go down and knock off 100 of their cartel people somewhere, you might have a hotel fail and collapse in Cancun. And no way to ever indicate what gang, or even that it was cartel violence. And yet you figure it out eventually. You see, that's what scares me. Our Americans and others who look like they're Americans or just foreigners, in general, become unpopular, and a very friendly and supportive surrounding, and people who love them, and have worked with them for years, and they're a maid at the house, and she's just like a member of the family, and so forth. But when her brother is killed and her brother, who, as far as she's concerned, is completely innocent, was collateral damage in some American attack somewhere, you begin to have potential for unhappiness. Now, I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just saying, look, be careful. Be very, 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 very careful. I don't trust any administration to be able to deal with this thing. If they get it rolling, then they can bring it to an end easily. I don't know exactly what to advise them, but don't be clumsy. Don't be stupid. Try to be as sensitive as possible. Work within those limits. And we'll all hope and pray that it just goes on its way and it gets better, and we can support the Mexican government to do more and more and more against the cartels without having to set it up into some sort of horrible situation that nobody wants. Well, we don't, at least, for sure. So that's the one area that has my attention on the side. Otherwise, I'm right back to being Panama-oriented, and thankful that we're at this point in our history where we can move along a little bit. We got bumps in the road to come, and some of them are going to be big bumps, I'm sure. But hey, there's so many other places in the world where I would not want to live. I'm happy exactly where I am, and I'm happy that you stop by to visit once in a while. Thank you very much. I'll be back.